Hello there guys, Alex here, bringing you part 5 of What If Deku Had Cataclysm. So, before I continue, again, just want to quickly announce, again, thank you for the support. In this case, I threw you guys a bone. I just didn't want to leave you guys with that, big cliffhanger, and, me taking off like 3 to 5 weeks off of this series. So in this case, threw a bone, asked at least 800 likes. At least a couple of, an hour extra, even threw in a couple of 10 minutes more, just in case. And yeah, you reached it. So in this case, for this video, to get part 6, worked on immediately, 1,000 likes, 5,000 views. So if you can reach that in 24 hours, yeah, we'll work on it immediately. And if not, then we'll be working on some other projects for the meanwhile. Ed is already starting to work on the Dragon Ball one, so please be patient. Please be patient. He's just one guy. I'm just an artist, man. Swear to God. If I see those comments, I'm gonna delete them, bro. I'm sorry. It's really pissing me off. And in this case, let's see. Anything else I need to announce? Oh yes. In this case, again, so if you want to support the channel out, I have a Patreon open. And in this case, we have our first member already. In this case, you'll get your shout out in a moment at the end of the video. So I also want to make sure that if you're still not subscribed, you hit that subscribe button, ring notification, just to make sure that you can get out. I see your interest in my content. In this case, I also try to upload more frequently. All right. So without a further ado, let's begin. Where we last left off, Izuku walked into the office only to see Nezu speaking to a beautiful young lass that could be in her early 20s. Nezu saying, "Hi, Izuku, this young lass from Paris over here was interested in you after your performance in the sports festival." Izuku, confused, would say, "Really? Why would someone from another country would want to give me an internship? I'm nothing special." Nezu, shocked, would say, "Izuku, don't say that." The lady, walking towards Izuku and placing a hand on his cheek, saying, "Oh, Mino, it seems you've had it rough, didn't you?" Izuku, feeling nostalgic, would say, "Oh, did you?" As the lady would say, "Oh, Mino, your eyes tell me all I need to know, but I guess introductions are a must. My name is..." But before she had the chance to tell her name, a red blob with black spots flew to Izuku, shocking everyone there. As the red blob would say, "It's been so long, Plag. We finally found you." Izuku, confused, would say, My name is Izuku, not Plag. What are you anyways?" As the lady would be hissing, saying, "Tiki, what are you doing? Why did you have to ruin the introduction?" As Tiki would say, "Sorry, Marinette, but it's Plag. I can sense it." Marinette, sighing heavily, would say, "Don't worry about it. I guess the cat is out of the bag now." Izuku, tilting his head in confusion, would say, what?" Marinette looked towards Nezu with a stoic face, wondering what was going on, until he voiced his question. Nezu saying, "I don't mean to pry on other people's business, but would you mind clearing up a few things for me?" As Marinette, smiling nervously, would say, "Sure, Principal Nezu." Nezu saying, "First of all, these documents you presented to me say Marianne instead of Marinette. Why is that so?" Marinette, visibly nervous, would say, yeah, you see..." Tiki interrupting, saying, "Marinette, what's the point in lying to them? Don't you think this charade has been going on far too long? There are only a few people that still remember your name. It's been decades since then. Why are you pretending to be someone you're not?" Marinette saying, "But Tiki..." Tiki saying, "No buts. We discussed this already. I think we can trust him, since he's been taking care of Plag." Nezu, confused, would say, not to interrupt or anything, but would you kindly explain what is going on?" Marinette, sighing heavily, saying, "Alright, Tiki, you win." As she looks to Nezu, saying, "And to answer your question from earlier, here, I'm guessing this would explain more than words." As she gives him her old ID, "My actual name is Marinette Dupain Chang. My hero name is Ladybug, and she's Tiki, my Kwame." Nezu, glancing at the ID in shock, saying, But this This is just not possible. According to this ID, you were born in 2001, but that will make you... Marinette frowning, saying, that will make me 175 years on August 25th, yet I look like I'm in my 20s. I'm fully aware. Nezu's shock would say, but there weren't quirks during those times. Quirks started to develop, as Marinette says, in 2025 in China. Then lo and behold, the entire world, except for a 20% being quirkless, which recently they discovered that in reality is a mere 17%, which is quirkless. Nezu saying, but you have a quirk that is floating and eating a cookie? Marinette saying, wait, what? Tiki eating a cookie would say, what? I was getting hungry. Marinette sighing, saying, Principal Nezu, I know for a fact that she isn't a quirk, she's a kwami. A long story short, kwamis are divine beings that are formed whenever a new abstract idea or emotion comes into existence in the universe. And Tiki over here was the first, therefore being the kwami of creation, and she resembles a ladybug for the symbolism of fortune. Izuku saying, but what does it have to do with me? Tiki saying, it has to do with you for a simple reason. You are Plague, or rather his human incarnation. Izuku saying, what is that supposed to mean? Who even is Plague? I don't get it. Marinette saying, Plague is the kwami of destruction. He is the black cat kwami, so he symbolizes, Izuku in shock would say, misfortune. Nezu saying, but that still doesn't explain why you are young yet. Marinette saying, oh yeah, I almost forgot. Before quirks, kwamis were the only source of power one had, and they were called miraculouses, magical jewels which allowed the kwamis to lend their powers to the holders. As she starts frowning, saying, I am the last of them. The reason why I'm still young is because I'm the last guardian of the miraculous, and I made a huge mistake. Nezu saying, mistake? What mistake? Marinette frowning again, saying, to be honest, uniting the two miraculouses of creation and destruction, one was granted a wish, but for every action, there is a reaction, and that wish had a price to pay. Nezu saying, and what was that wish, if I may ask? Marinette frowning, saying, without going into detail, I was the reason quirks exist, and kwamis no longer kwamis, but instead live life as humans. But things went out of hand very quickly, and once I realized it, it was already too late. And here we are today, 150 years later, and me staying the same ever since. Nezu saying, I'm sorry to hear that. Marinette cheerfully would say, don't be, I already came to terms with it a while ago. Besides, I've decided that this year is finally the year I retire for good. Izuku shaking, saying, so, the reason of me being born this way, is it the result of that wish too? Marinette proudly saying, yes, that is why. Izuku shouting with tears in his eyes, so it's your fault. Your fault for me being this way. Your fault of everything that happened to me. It was your fault. And all because of one stupid wish. Before Marinette could answer, Izuku left with tears falling from his cheeks. And out of concern, Tiki followed him. Marinette saying, Principal Nezu, why did he... Nezu saying, as you said before, he didn't have it easy. But he has been living here at UA for a while. Marinette putting her hands in front of her mouth, realizing what she did. Saying, oh no, what have I done? Did his parents abandon him because of him being this way or something? Nezu frowning, saying, no, not exactly. You are half right for his father. He was never in his life, but his mother, as he explained everything about Izuku, she too explained about her early years before quirks started to develop. Meanwhile, Izuku ran out from the principal's office in tears, unaware of Tiki following him. Izuku bumped into Ida, feeling something wrong with him, but not dwelling on it, for he needed to go to the safest place for him to go, which is his piano room. Once inside, he took a blanket and covered himself as he cried in the corner of the room, with Fluffles meowing at him. He was interrupted by the door opening, but nobody was there. He returned to mope around while having the meowing cat, as a background of sorts, but a piano key was hit. He looked at the piano, only for him to see a piece of cheese that he never saw before. He got closer and inspected the cheese, and he swallowed it in one bite. Afterwards, he was already feeling better as he wondered out loud what kind of cheese it was. Tiki saying it's camembert, it was your favorite, as she gets somewhat annoyed and says, and I have to emphasize on the favorite part. Izuku, surprised, would say, how are you even sure, as he starts remembering, saying, oh, yeah, I know how. Tiki, concerned, would say, come on, Plague, talk to me. Izuku saying, my name is Izuku, not Plague, and can you leave me alone? Tiki saying, sorry, Izuku, please tell me what's going on. Izuku tried to deny Tiki any explanations, but the tender smile and with her big blue eyes made Izuku melt, and thus he explained everything that happened to him, including what happened with Shigaraki at the USJ, including Izuku trying to use cataclysm on himself, but it didn't work. Tiki, hugging his cheek, saying, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure Marinette didn't mean it that way. She didn't know, but regarding what the villain said to you, it's not true. Back in the day, as she starts explaining the events of the series that are brought up to the day when the wish was made, saying, and without you, it hasn't been the same. I'm just so happy that we finally found you. Izuku appreciated Tiki's word, and he asked for more camembert. After a while, a knock was heard and Izuku told them to come in, only to reveal a very apologetic Marinette. Marinette saying, Izuku, I'm sorry for what I said. It was insensitive of me. Izuku saying, it's okay. Tiki told me. Marinette saying, so regarding the internship, would you like to intern with me? Or you'd prefer doing it with someone else? Izuku chuckling saying, yeah, I'll do the internship with you. Marinette smiling saying, great, and before I forget, take this. Gives him a ring, and saying, it used to be the ring of the Black Cat Miraculous. I want you to have it. Izuku, confused, would say, thank you? But isn't it powerless? Marinette saying, yes, I want you to have it as a momentum. That's all. Izuku saying, okay, can you tell me something? What happened exactly with the wish, I mean? Marinette saying, like I said earlier, my wish was the cause of quirks existing and the rest of the Kwamis living as humans. But the thing is, I didn't want someone to abuse the miraculous like Hawk Moth did back in the day. Izuku, curious, would say, who's Hawk Moth? Marinette saying, he was an old villain that had the power to give power to people and make them do whatever he wanted, and tried everything that he could to get the miraculouses from me and my partner, and it lasted for years, until the day we managed to capture him. Izuku, amazed, would say, whoa, that must have been so cool. Marinette saying, no, it wasn't. I was a klutz, a walking disaster, and being Ladybug was something sudden. I was thrashed into the jaws of a supervillain without any experience, and on my first day, I almost lost and made Paris fall into Hawk Moth's hands. Izuku saying, what do you mean? Marinette saying, what I mean is that I was getting tired. I never wanted to be Ladybug, the guardian of the miraculous. The only thing I wanted to be was to be a fashion designer. So I made a selfish wish, and here we are. I never considered the consequence, and it blew up in my face. I made it my mission to find all the Kwami's human incarnations and help them out however I can. There's only one left. Now I know how my Master Fu felt. Izuku and Marinette lingered in an awkward silence until Izuku decided to speak up. Izuku nervously would say, so, do you have anything to help me out with my combat skills? Marinette smiled at Izuku's attempt to break the ice. Marinette saying, you could always use a weapon of sorts. Izuku saying, I tried using something similar to Aizawa's scarf, but my cat instincts would just get in the way. Marinette saying, I see. What about a baton or a staff? Izuku saying, the problem with that is that I don't know how to use a staff. Marinette saying, "Don't worry, I'll show you how to use it," and some footage of my partner and how he used it back in the day. Izuku, curious, would say, "Mind showing me the footage, meow?" Marinette chuckling, saying, a cat pun, I haven't heard those in a while. Izuku saying, "Don't you like them?" Marinette saying, "To be honest, I didn't at first, but they grew on me." Izuku saying, "I see." Marinette saying, "Do you have a hero name yet?" Izuku saying, "Hero name? I didn't think about that." Marinette saying, "Could you do me a favor? If you don't mind, could you go for Cat Noir?" Izuku smiling, saying, "I don't mind. I had nothing in mind. Anyways, but why that name?" Marinette saying, "Well, to be honest, it belonged to my partner and it would suit you, since you are a black cat, and also you remind me of him, even if it's just a little." Izuku smiled and he accepted. Marinette searched up the old lady blog from her old friend Alia from back in the day, and they watched some of the footage. Izuku was amazed with the footage still being there, and how cheesy her partner's puns were, catching some puns for himself. Time skip to the start of the internship. Izuku gave out his hero name application to Midnight and told his classmates, also telling them that he'll be interning with the French pro hero Ladybug. Aoyama mentioned if it's a descendant of the Parisian hero from the 21st century, with Izuku confirming it, not wanting to tell him that it's actually the same one. Once classes were over, Izuku, Jiro, Katsuki, and Mina were walking out. Izuku asked if they knew what was wrong with Ida. Jiro tells him about Ida's brother Ingenium was injured and now paralyzed by his leg due to the hero killer Sane. Then Marinette popped out and scared them. Once Izuku and Marinette started to interact with Izuku, Jiro was getting a bit jealous and didn't go unnoticed by Marinette. Izuku's training was in Training Field Gamma, and it mainly focused on learning how to use a staff and how to maneuver himself with buildings, which Marinette gave him something very similar to Cat Noir's original weapon, with all of its features too. Marinette also tells what Izuku is capable of with his cataclysm, telling him about the events of Cat Blanc, and Marinette mentions that her company made his hero outfit, so she based it off from the Cat Noir's original suit, which was the reason of not being a hole for Izuku's tail. Once Izuku had a good grasp on how to use his staff to his advantage in a battle and to maneuver himself and parkour himself to an area, Marinette saw an opportunity to take him out for patrol so he can get some real life experience. Jiro and Izuku talked on the phone. Izuku used the staff to see if the communication worked. They talked on the phone for a bit, asking how training is going. Izuku asks about Ida because he was concerned about him, also asking where he went to internet. Jiro told Izuku the location, with it being Hosuh City. And this what if Izuku isn't caught up with the news, so he wouldn't have the same strategic mind that could have located Stain's location. Once everything was ready, Marinette arrived at the front gate of UA, which was their meeting spot, in regular clothes, and Tiki sitting on her shoulder, eating a chocolate chip cookie, confusing Izuku. Izuku saying, Marinette, where's your hero suit? Marinette chuckling, saying, "Oh, silly kitty, I don't need one because I have Tiki." Izuku, even more confused, would say, "I don't get what you mean." Marinette saying, "Well, just watch and learn. Tiki, spots on." Izuku was surprised that Marinette and Tiki did that, and Marinette explains to Izuku how it actually works, and proving that anyone could have a chance to be a hero by having a Kwami, but soon realizing that Tiki was the last Kwami, so he thought that if she could do that, it meant that other Kwamis could do so too, and that thought of a miraculous falling in the wrong hand made Izuku gulp. Marinette saying, "In public, please refer to me as Ladybug. In any case, according to Principal Nezu, Hosuh City is our best bet for some experience, so we'll be heading there. So, as a licensed hero, I give you permission to use your quirk if the situation calls for it." Izuku nodded, and the two parkoured to Hosuh City. Since they are parkouring instead of riding a train, it'll take them longer to get there, and once they arrive, the Nomus are already attacking the city. Since now that Izuku knows that the Nomu aren't human, he doesn't feel as guilty if he were to use cataclysm on them. In the midst of the chaos, Izuku uses cataclysm on the Nomu that were about to harm people, and he heard a pro hero calling for Ida, and that caught his attention. Izuku was thinking on where Ida might be while taking down the Nomus, but a painful howl was heard in a direction, and Izuku's cat ears picked up on it. Izuku saying, "Milady, did you hear that?" Ladybug smiled to herself, as she recalled when her partner called her that back in the day, but she shook her head thinking at the problem at hand. Ladybug saying, "Hear what, Mino?" Izuku saying, "Someone was screaming in pain," as Izuku pointing in a direction saying, "And I think it came from that direction." Ladybug saying, "Well, Mino, there's one way to find out." Ladybug and Izuku parkoured in that direction, hoping to find the source of the scream of someone howling in agony. After parkouring from rooftop to rooftop, Izuku's cat ears picked up the same scream, and this time even Ladybug could hear it. They followed the screams, which led them to an alleyway, where the pro hero native was injured, and Ida on the floor with a sword implanted into his arm, and causing him to be stuck to the ground as he howled in pain, much to the perpetrator's amusement, as he was taunting the defenseless hero in training. Izuku and Ladybug jumped into the fray, confronting the person responsible for the pro hero native and Ida's state, and Ladybug managed to kick him away from the injured person. Ladybug saying, "So, you must be the hero killer Stain. How lucky of me to spot you during my time here in Japan, or is it?" Stain saying, "Great, how lucky I must be if it isn't Lady Luck herself. A pro hero from another country meddling in someone else's business. Don't you think you're pushing your luck?" Ladybug, with the corner of her eyes, she tries to see what was going on, but Izuku was already on it. Izuku was getting Ida and the pro hero native away from there, and to get some backup, which made her smile. Ladybug smirking, saying, "Well, should we test which one of us is luckier?" Stain grabbed his swords, and Ladybug called for her lucky charm, and putting a plan into action. Stain, stopping in his tracks and laughing, saying, "What are you going to do with that oversized fork?" Ladybug smirking, saying, "I guess you'll have to find out for yourself." Stain charged at Ladybug, and Ladybug did the same, as his swords clashed with her oversized fork. Meanwhile, Izuku, after taking them out from the alleyway, he asked Ida on why he did such a thing. Ida gave his explanation as in the anime, but Izuku's disappointed in him because he failed to see there was someone there that was injured, and Izuku fidgeted with his staff and he started to walk away. Ida saying, "Izuku, where do you think you're going?" Izuku saying, "Ladybug needs my help, so I'm going to help her. Don't worry, I sent a text to the class with our location, and that you need medical attention." Before Ida could say anything else, Izuku leaped away. Back in the alleyway, Ladybug and Stain have been going at it for a while, and most of Stain's knives and swords were stabbed in two, and they have their back and forth of ideals, with Stain telling her that she is a true hero and that she is worthy, unlike the fakes he killed or injured. And by the time Izuku arrived, Stain was dealt with, and he was tied up, and once the other pro heroes arrived and the Nomus retreated, Ladybug got her oversized fork and threw it in the air while saying, "Miraculous Ladybug," which reverted all of the damage caused to the city. Shigaraki and Kirigiri from the rooftop watching this happen were shocked, but Shigaraki was mostly pissed for the fact of his hard work was reverted just like that. Afterwards, Izuku went to visit Ida in the hospital, for he was worried for his safety. Izuku has his little shtick with Ida, talking about how reckless he was, and that he shouldn't be doing anything like that, because if it wasn't for Izuku and Ladybug, Ida would have severed his arm. Then Manuel and Ladybug appeared from the door, repeating the same thing to Ida, with the dog chief of police coming in too. Izuku's cat instincts are telling him to run away. The chief of police scolded Ida, and he repeated on how his actions could reflect on him. And since the French pro hero dealt with Stain, and Izuku was given permission from her to use his quirk against the Nomu, Ida was let off by a warning. Time skip to the end of the internships, with everything else happening as in the anime, except for Todoroki being involved. Aizawa entered the classroom. Aizawa saying, "Great. A lot of you have survived your internships," as he starts glaring at Ida in particular, saying, "With that out of the way, you must put what you've learned into action." The class was confused. Aizawa saying, "The final exams are coming up. Be prepared." And to be continued. So, before I end this, or before I end credits, I want to mention a quick shout out to the Patreon supporter, Will Finister. Thank you for supporting the channel out. And in this case, your name could also be mentioned here in the very end and the video as well. If you become a Patreon, there are a lot of tiers I have. In this case, at the end of each month, probably I'll do a request for any Patreon supporters for like a little poll for drawings that I might do for the funsies. But in this case, we'll see what we can get to that point. I do need at least some people if you guys are interested. But in any case, I also want to mention again, 5,000 views, 1,000 likes, next part, immediately, in 24 hours, alright? Alright, I know you guys can get the numbers. Come on, guys. Let's be real. So in this case, yeah. And in any case, I might have to start writing some stuff, because I don't want to overwork at it at this point. It's been doing this for fun, but at the same time, it's like, man, I really need to get to writing. But in any case, guys, I really do hope you liked the video. I hope you liked some of the assets I made. I made Marinette in her civilian clothing. I just didn't want to reuse the one from the show or her hero outfit. I actually made them in what's it called in 2 days, real quick. I didn't do the little Kwami thingy. That's actually I got it from Google. Sorry, but in this case, just wanted to clear that thing out. In any case, I hope you liked the video. Hope you have a good day or have a good night. Peace.